Alessio Liguori brings us Shortcut, which comes to UK digital download on the 29th of March. But should you give this horror a watch, or should you take a prompt shortcut to avoid it? Let's find out. Jack Kane and Zak Sutcliffe star in this film following a group of teenagers on a hijacked bus which breaks down within a service tunnel, and they discover that the hijacker on the bus is the least of their worries, as there seems to be a monstrous presence from within this tunnel. Once again, a big thank you to Strike Media for providing me with this screener. It is available already in the US, but for us UK viewers, it isn't out quite yet, so do apologies if it's a bit weird that I'm reviewing this film now after it's been out in the US for months. First thing I had to point out is that this film has quite the abysmal IMDb score, so I just have to point out some of the good things, because I feel like this film, whilst is not the greatest, it doesn't warrant the low score on IMDb. For one, there is a great use of cinematography within this, and the use of the setting is absolutely fantastic. The framing in this is absolutely gorgeous, and the monster design as well, I feel, is very well done for a low budget horror movie. While the film does lack in its gory elements and is very lackluster when it comes to the actual kills, the monster design itself, from what I could see of it, they utilize the design really, really well. They do the thing where they don't show you the whole monster in bright daylight. It is mostly shadowed by darkness, but it really adds to the presence and aura of this beast that is terrifying these 5 teenagers. The big thing for me though is that this film unfortunately has a awful script. A lot of the dialogue is quite wooden, and some of the phrases are quite frustrating. There is a whole analogy about a riddle that is the overriding plot of this movie. It tries to go with an 80s sort of feel, but being told in a modern day, and you can tell they are leaning heavily into the Stranger Things hype simply by how the logo looks on the poster. My problem with this was that I really didn't care about any of the characters. There was one character in particular that drove me insane, and I really wanted them to get axed off really bad. You know how in every sort of horror movie from the 80s and some of the 90s, there's always the one cocky person that is talking the big game throughout the movie, but once things start going bad and they see a monster, that same cocky person starts freaking out and having breakdowns to the point where people have to slap them to get their shit together effectively. This film has that character, but imagine if that character had that arc but kept snapping back and forth between panicking to being a cocky person. It is so inconsistent how this character is written. A lot of the other characters are quite wooden in their personalities. The only character I liked was Zak Sutcliffe's character, and I get the feeling that I wasn't supposed to enjoy his character at all, but he seemed to be the one giving the most energy to his performance, and he does the best with what is a very lackluster script, because his character is one note, but he does a great job with what he is given. The rest of the cast features, you have generic hero, generic love interest, generic nerdy character. There is just not a whole lot going off with these characters. The characters and the script are the two glaring flaws within this movie, which is such a shame because, like I said, the atmosphere in this is absolutely fantastic. It is executed really well, how they play with the setting and never stay in one place too long. The monster design, as I say, is really good, though the sound it makes is 100% the ring wraith sound from Lord of the Rings. If you have seen Lord of the Rings, you will know exactly what I am talking about. And the soundtrack as well is nice. It does give you a foreboding feeling, which I feel like every soundtrack needs to do when it comes to horror movies. It does use the synthesizer stuff to again lean more into the 80s feel, but being told in the modern day. And that tone doesn't always work. The tone of this film is really inconsistent. For every tense moment with the horror, there is a comedic relief moment that leans heavily into the character that I mentioned earlier. That is absolutely insufferable. The hijacker element of this movie really didn't need to be here. The whole film starts with the bus that these teenagers are on getting blocked off in the road by a tree that is honestly small enough that if they all worked together, they could have moved it themselves. But whatever, they take a shortcut. They get hijacked by this hijacker. The bus breaks down in a tunnel. And you really didn't need to have the hijacker in this. He gives some cheap horrors to this. The way this film was told could have been done differently. You take the hijacker out. It could have been a simple case of, we take a shortcut, bus breaks down the tunnel naturally, and the guardian of the bus will go investigate, and that's what gets the things in motion. The hijacker is very much not a requirement within this film. I think the only thing that he serves in this film is the fact that he has a gun, and the gun turns out to be useless, which is such a trope when it comes to these sort of creature feature monster movies. This film tries to be The Scent meets It, and it doesn't really work. It does have good technical elements. The sound is good. The cinematography is well executed. The way it uses lighting is brilliant. And for an independent film, the monster itself is a really, while not original design, it's still really nice, and the effects on it are really good, and they do a great job of just showing us the bare minimum possible of still keeping him feeling threatening and foreboding. But with such an awful script, a very awkward riddle that is just referenced at the start and referenced at the end and really doesn't have any connection to the plot, and just the characters either being wooden or overly frustrating. It's genuinely a big letdown from me because the concept was quite interesting. Before I get into my grade review like what I do on this channel, consider clicking that like button and subscribing to the channel for more reviews like this coming all the time. Coming up next on the channel as well for a little preview, I am going to be covering The Exorcist 3 at some point this week, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for that one. But overall for me, Shortcut is an independent film, so I can't judge it too harshly, but the script is just terrible, and a lot of the characters are quite forgetful, and the threat of the film, you stop feeling there's a threat after so long. There are a couple of moments where you feel like something bad should happen to one of these characters, but they get off scot-free, and you stop feeling like there is any real threat towards a protagonist in this. Technically, this is very good on a technical standpoint. The sound is decent, the soundtrack does its job, the cinematography plays with the space really well, the setting is really well utilized, and the monster is very nice. But technical aspects can only get you so far when a script and character isn't as strong as the technical aspects, because that's what people's going to remember is the characters and the script and the story, and that just falls flat. Hence why I feel it's got such a low rating on IMDb. Overall, I'm going to have to say that Shortcut is a cold cup of tea. So Shortcut, have you seen it? If you have, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Let me know if there's any independent films you wish for me to look at in the future. Coming up next on the channel, like I've said, looking at The Exorcist 3, so be sure to hit that bell notification for more reviews like that one. But until next time, everybody, my name is Josh, I have been the Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you in the next video.